the reality is you gotta get that data centralized and structured in a way that AI can use. People tend to think of AI in a more of a productivity tool
Mm,
type type scenario where it's just,
yeah,
it's automating some things, it's summarizing some things. It's basically doing what you do today but just faster.
right.
And while that's great, I think obviously doing that is helpful and obviously going to really help move things forward. I think the real question we should be asking is what can we do with AI that we can't do today to actually lead projects to success. I think if we can get to that point, that's what people need to look at this as. And it's, yes, it's a threat, but I think it's again, it's on the other side of the coin. Depends on how you look at it. It's an opportunity as well. If you learn how these things work together, uh, in the future, you're going to be able to start putting these things together, and that's where innovation comes.
Right on. Hi, Zandy. Not too long ago, I was driving from the airport to a keynote in Silicon Valley, which is one of the foremost tech hubs in the world. And as I looked at the billboards that lined the expressway, it was obvious that nearly every software company felt compelled to mention how they had AI integrated into their tools. If you're not talking about AI and you're in the software provider business, you're ancient and irrelevant, or so it seemed. Perhaps you've heard forecasts that say something like 80% of a project manager's work will be replaced by AI someday. I saw one that said this tool will get rid of your project managers. I mean, they're tools that claim to integrate AI. You just can't get away from the hype. The truth is, I don't think anyone really knows exactly how AI will impact project managers and by when. And much of the AI integration is something that seems to be bolted on to an existing tool that allows them to say that they're AI enabled. So today, I want to have a conversation with a new friend from PlanAutomate. They've been deep in the process of automating project management for quite a while now. Matt Mong is one of the leaders at PlanAutomate, and I think you'll find his perspectives on AI and the world of projects to be inspiring and thought provoking. Before we get into the actual discussion, I want to be clear that this is not a paid collaboration. I'm not receiving any compensation for introducing you to Matt or Plan Automated. The deal is I'm just constantly on the lookout for resources that help us all prepare for the world ahead. And one more thing before we start. So many people from around the world have already gone through our AI Made Simple course. If you haven't, a good follow-up to today's discussion is to check it out. Your peers around the world are finding it to be a motivating way to learn practical day-to-day use cases with existing AI tools. They've radically scaled up their competence and confidence, and they're telling me how they are reaping significant benefits in their work life. So combined with what you'll be learning today, it's a great way to prepare for a future that will undoubtedly continue to be influenced by AI. Learn more and enroll in that training at ai.peopleandprojectspodcast.com. Thanks. Let's get to today's discussion with Matt. Hey, Matt, thanks for joining us on the People and Projects podcast.
Thanks for having me, Andy. Great to be here.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this. All right, if you're okay with this, let's start with what's driving us crazy. And I kind of alluded to it in the intro there because sometimes I feel like I see like a post on social media that says, here's one of mine: the 37 prompts that will revolutionize how you manage project. Yeah, and the reason I roll my eyes on that is that if you try any one of those prompts, and I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but it seems like any one of those in today's chatbots, you'll get a response, but it's not nearly enough context for the tools to provide any reasonable or discernible value. So that's mine. What's something that's being said about AI in general or about projects that's maybe driving you a little crazy these days, Matt?
Yeah. Well, I think you hit it the nail on the head there. There's kind of so much hype around it
Yeah.
right now. It's just everywhere you go, everything. I get all my Google feed. It's
Mhm.
seems like every other news story is about how AI is going to just transform and revolutionize everything. And while I think that's true,
Yeah.
overestimating what's going to happen in a year or two, but underestimating what's going to happen in 10 years, 15
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
right? So I think right now is a lot of hype around what's going to happen in the next couple years, whereas I think it's still real early days, right?
Yeah.
I do think, when you talk about context, right, there's a couple of things there. In AI terms, that's data, right?
Mhm.
AI and ML is only as good as the data you give it,
Yeah.
really. And
Yeah.
what drives me crazy is people forget this, right? They just think that it's, you put some stuff in there and it's magic and it just comes out.
Mhm.
It's, it just comes out as this great response. And
Yeah.
that's just far, far from it. And if you've used AI a lot, you've come across those responses where like, whoa, that doesn't make any sense. And so having sort of the right data and structuring the data in the right way to, get the most out of AI, I think is key. It's foundational. Just what we do at PlanAutomate, that is half the value proposition,
Mhm.
right? Is just actually having structured data in one system that can actually AI can use.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I think drives me crazy is people tend to think of AI in a uh, more of a productivity tool
Mm,
type scenario where it's just
yeah.
it's automating some things, it's summarizing some things, it's basically doing what you do today but just faster.
Right. Right.
uh, and while that's great, I think obviously doing that is helpful and obviously going to really help move things forward. I think the real question we should be asking is what can we do with AI that we can't do today,
Yeah.
right? That's the interesting question is, you know, what can we do that we can't do or can't easily do today? Like if it's just doing what I do today but faster, again, that's great. But let's think beyond our own capabilities in a sense. What would be like mind blowing or something like that?
Yeah.
So that's sort of like one of the questions that we ask ourselves is, what can we do with it that is beyond what a typical, say, project manager might be able to do today?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
love that mindset.
yeah,
So, speaking of today, like, what are some ways that you personally are using AI in your day to day and at work and maybe outside of work as well?
yeah. I use it all the time. Like it's just it's a second nature for me at this
Mm,
point now.
mhm.
We used to always go to Google. Now it's
Yeah.
that's been replaced.
Yeah.
First thing I'll do is go to AI,
Yeah.
but it's personal. It's in business. I mean, here in business, like we use it all the time for ideation, brainstorming, even checking our strategies and things like that. Is all in all ways. Personally, I use it even just in my uh, all throughout all my stuff I do at home or with my family, and we're constantly asking you questions. Or do we think about this? Do we do that?
Right.
I walked outside this past weekend and having some issues with my yard in the back. And finally I just took a picture and I
Right.
uploaded it to chat and I was like, what's wrong with my yard? And it said, looks like you may have a fungus, might want to try this fungicide. And I was like, all right, great, let's give that a shot.
Yeah.
So it's that type of thing. It's just second nature now. And I think that's only going to grow and just get
Mm.
more and more just integrated into daily life.
I'm not personally using any tools to record meetings and summarize the notes, but I've certainly run into more people that are doing that sort of thing. Any particular tool you've been using to do that, or is that something
Well,
you
we
haven't
use
been doing?
Teams on Microsoft,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
we have that capability, and it is actually it is very helpful.
Mhm.
For sure. It seems to understand things, pretty quickly and be able to summarize things and action items and things like that. It's a nice feature as far as just regular office
Yeah.
productivity. It's very useful for sure.
Seems like for a first draft, we had a session where during a break, someone was playing music and it said, so and so recited poetry because it was like a rap song. And so, yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
clear it's not ready to take over the world quite yet. But
Right.
the way I try to think of it, Matt, is that this is just the stupidest they'll ever be. Right? It'll only get better. So,
Yes. Right.
yeah. How about on the
For sure.
customer side? Maybe some ways you've seen teams using AI in their day to day work now, and if you had to kind of guess a year or two down the line, we're not going to guess like 5 or 10 or anything like that, but just
Yeah.
like closer to the horizon. What do you think those? How do you think those use cases will evolve?
Well, first of all, let me be transparent. We're at PlanAutomate, we're only rolling out our first AI solution this fall.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
don't want to give the impression that we've been doing AI for the last 5 years. We
yeah,
have been iterating and developing, but we just haven't rolled it out to our customers yet.
yeah,
Um, but what we see when we talk to our customers and what we're seeing in general is across the industry is that teams are currently using the AI primarily for things like we just talked about,
yeah.
summarizing
Hmm.
meetings, doing an quick analysis of the project, status reports, generating emails and things like that. The more sophisticated ones are doing some automation, like some task within the system to automate some, clicks and things like that. More like a robotic process automation than
Hmm.
AI, but they're
Hmm.
using AI in the front end to do that, right? But when I look, I think those are sort of just table stakes at this point. And
Yeah.
when I look a year or two down the line, I think that's going to evolve dramatically. I think the first of all, we're already seeing this rise of the agents and the agentic, architecture that's coming out. Specialized agents, AI agents doing different things because they're specialized in doing these certain things, and then having this sort of orchestrating agent to be able to manage them. So in the future, you kind of like have these AI teams that you're managing as a project manager. I think we'll definitely see a lot more of that. I think we'll also see that um, the AI will kind of start to eat away at the software itself,
Hmm.
right? So you might have a function and a process that you manage in the software. You click a button, you do this and do that, and you get this. That I think will probably start to be reduced as AI just does it for you,
Okay.
right? And then so the actual processing in the software be reduced. I think we're also going to see some more sophistication around what's called causal AI and temporal causal AI. And that's just one of the areas that we're focused on, is that you're basically looking at data in a time series fashion, and you're training the AI models to actually look for causation. So it's not just correlation. It's not
Right.
just doing some analysis of data and correlating when things move together. It's actually figuring out this is actually causing this. And so therefore, if we see a little number here that moves, we know that this could cause a downstream effect later on. And so that's what I think is going to happen in projects. It's what we're doing. I think that eventually then that will just provide a lot more usable insight, usable recommendations and things like that. That's where I think it's going.
You know, we had a conversation with a tool provider, and their take is instead of chatting about an email or a document, something like that, you chat with the portfolio. And I think that idea is really that's what came to mind when you're talking about this of you're not saying here are 15 standard reports or
Right.
here's a report creator. It's like, no,
No.
you're having like an ongoing conversation and what should I pay attention to? And how does that link to this? And it can get to the causal instead of just a some sort of trend report.
Yeah, exactly. I just wrote an article about this. It
Hmm.
actually was called "What If Your Projects Could Talk,"
Right. Yeah.
and it was going about this the same way. Is like, what if you could just have an ongoing conversation with your project, and it is constantly monitoring and feeding you information about what's going on and what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, this just kind of revolutionizes what a project manager is what their skill set should be, and how they're going to evolve in the future as well.
I really think so. Like I was just, when you and I are recording, it's over the summer, but I was just talking to a friend who he didn't know that you could have ongoing conversations with like a tool like ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude. He was still using it like a search engine. And I think project managers are used to interacting with almost like a search engine. Like, here's what I'm looking for, you get the response back, but not this ongoing sort of
Right.
conversation. And once you get used to that sort of thing, oh my goodness, it just opens up all kinds of opportunities.
Yeah.
Getting to what you said before of not just automating what we currently do, but trying to do things that weren't really able to do before, right?
Right. Right. There's a lot of that. I think that even I mean just in the world of project management, when you have most organizations are kind of plagued with these disparate tools kind of
Right.
all over the place, and spreadsheets and data in different places, and just that scenario alone makes it incredibly difficult to do things you should do.
Right.
you
It's
know
out there somewhere, right?
Hey, yeah, but it's just so hard to do it. We don't do it, or we don't do
Yeah.
it very often.
Uh-huh.
So we do our EAC every month,
Hmm.
even though I know we should be doing this every week.
Hmm.
Because it's so hard. It takes me a day and a half to get all the data and put it together. So
Yeah.
it's and I think it's the same. It's the same way with AI, right?
Hmm.
If you don't have that data and can't have that conversation with the AI based on that data, it's not going to be as effective.
Yeah. I'm with an organization next week where they have a complete moratorium on any AI tool because they're afraid of IP. And I'd say that's kind of the one of the top concerns I hear from leaders. It's data privacy, data security, just security of their systems overall. And the fear is that if we use these tools, like in order to talk to the portfolio, that portfolio has to be available to it, right? And if we use it, it's going to open the door to data being exposed or misused. So, what are your thoughts about concerns like that?
Yeah, it is a major concern, I think, and they should be concerned about it because, if you look at currently where things stand, at least like from a personal standpoint, it is sort of like your search engine, right?
Hmm.
Today, right? Which in a personal perspective could be leaked or used against you in some sort of way. That browsing history is
Yeah.
there. It's the
Hmm.
same way with the chat. And I just saw an article with Sam Altman saying
Right.
it's all there. Like
Even if you delete it, right?
right.
That's what he
So that
said.
can be used. So I mean, so figuring out what the data privacy and structures are going to be going forward is a huge concern, and it's something I think we need to think about just from an industry perspective, but also on a personal level too.
Hmm.
I think what we do at PlanAutomate was we actually um, sort of uh, we make the conversation uh, stateless. So it's called what's called chat completion. So basically, you have the conversation, but once you go outside the session, it's gone and it's deleted, and it's
Hmm.
deleted on the server. It's deleted everywhere. So we're trying to address this up front, at least in our initial rollout. That you know to do that. And then the other thing that we're doing that I think is going to be more common as well is that everything's anonymized, right? So all the data that is actually sent to the AI is anonymized. So it's a feature. It's what we've done intentionally, and because projects have unique metrics, we might have hundreds of metrics, right? But we want to standardize them in one system, and then you send that to the AI, and it's just looking at those numbers in effect, and so it doesn't know whether you're designing a diaper or building a nuclear power plant.
Right.
And it doesn't care. It's just
Hmm.
about looking and analyzing what's going on in your project, where it's trending, what's the trajectory, and that approach is only made possible by having that sort of structured and anonymized data. So that's our approach at this point. But I do think you go beyond that, you're gonna and companies are already approaching. They want their own custom AI models.
Right.
Then you got to put agreements in place as far as how the data is being used, and do you want conversations stored so that people can keep coming back to them. And those are all considerations that we're looking at as well as everybody else. So
Yeah.
it's
I agree.
definitely a major concern.
Beyond data security, privacy, can you think of a couple more like threats or opportunities that, as we as leaders are thinking about this, should be on our radar just as we think about how projects are going to be planned and delivered in the future?
Yeah. So I think both sort of personally and as an organization, and as I've said, the threat and the opportunity
Mhm.
is you got to get your data in order, or it's not gonna you're gonna be left behind. So, and this is obviously very apparent in the project space where, like we talked about, there's these disparate tools and data all over the place, and it's very, very hard to use AI in that scenario. So the reality is you gotta get that data centralized and structured in a way that AI can use,
Mhm.
right? Got to get away from the disparate tools. You got to put all that into one system. And so I think that's the keys. That's sort of the opportunity and the threat. So if you don't do that, you're definitely going to be finding yourself just still bogged down in the manual tasks that you were before. I think for project managers and organizations as well, they need to look at this as an opportunity to sort of elevate what it is that they do, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think the word automate and AI, like, can cause some concern around, my job and things like that. But I think you got to look at this in a way that you're elevating what they do from being, the data chaser, the data janitor, to an actual manager, who's leading, who's organizing, collaborating, engaging with stakeholders to actually lead projects to success. I think, if we can get to that point, that's what people need to look at this as. And it's, yes, it's a threat, but I think it's, again, it's on the other side of the coin. Depends on how you look at it. It's an opportunity as well.
I know I've heard, I'd say not a lot, but a growing number of companies that are saying things like, we want you to experiment, but then share your experiments because other people don't know about it. And sometimes there's like pockets of knowledge within an organization of what the tools can do, but other people don't know about it. So they're doing more lunch and learns and things like that. I think that's a good leadership thing to do.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, and we're seeing more and more of that. I mean, just in the past year, we experiment a lot internally with stuff and what can we do, what can we use it for, and I think that's going on everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a super exciting time, but it's also disruptive.
Yeah, for sure. There's a phrase that's been said for a while now. AI won't take your job, Matt, but someone using AI will. So from where you sit now and as you look to the future, how much truth do you think there is in that idea, especially when we think about, project-based work environments?
Yeah. There's some truth to it, but not really. Like, it doesn't get implemented that way.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about that saying, someone is coming behind you who's using AI is going to take a job. That's not how you hire people. Like, you don't hire people. Oh, this guy comes with AI and he's going to, bring that AI with him. Or, yes, he might have more experience using AI, but that may be true, I guess, for more of an independent contractor type person, but if you're a project manager in a big engineering firm of 1,000 people, that company is, yes, they might be asking you to experiment, but they're also pretty, they're going to regulate what is being used from a tool standpoint. And so I think, you're going to see more and more of it's already happening, but, we're going to get away from these disparate AI tools as well. And it's going to just be integrated into your existing tools and your existing workflows. So you're going to be forced to use it, really.
Right.
So,
well, just like we use it with a Maps app or other Grammarly, we're using it now, whether we even know it or not, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a danger that if you don't embrace it and don't use it and learn as much as you can about it, then sure, could it, that's not good. That's going to work out in your favor. So you do need to, be aware of that and use it. But I think it's not like I said, I don't think you're bringing along people, you're hiring people with AI, right? The AI is there and you're hiring people to use the AI as well as the rest of the tools. And so I think it's a more nuanced sort of situation than just, the replacement of roles here.
It's a good way to look at it. It's not that, and I guess that it's fair to say some jobs are being replaced by AI now, but it's not just, do they have that skills? It's the skills the systems will be there. And so are we adapting to those? Yeah. I like that. I like that perspective. And of course, no one knows where it's all headed, but I think there's enough history over time that say when there's disruptive technology, sometimes it eliminates jobs, but also creates jobs. So let's say someone listening to us, they want to get ready for whatever comes next. Any thoughts of mindsets or skills that they should be building now?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at history, right, it's just that is what happens. Yes, disruptive technologies can eliminate, but more so they create.
Mm-hmm.
And history shows us that, right?
Yeah.
If you look at, I mean, that's technology from the first hammer to what we have today. That's what it's doing. But we have 8 billion people on the planet today, and we keep rolling out new technology. And if it were the case that, technology was replacing jobs more faster than it's creating jobs, we wouldn't be able to sustain that curve of population growth that we've had. So, I mean, just overall, people need to think a little bit more positively about the new technology that's coming out. I think, there's, this idea that it's going to replace all these roles and jobs. I think it's going to create more than it takes. So my advice then to people and project managers out there is to actually embrace the technology, see it as an opportunity to get better, learn as much as you can about it, and understand where you fit and understand how you can use it to make you better. I think that there's probably some key things that you can focus on, especially when you look at it, how, humans are different than
Hmm.
AI. You
Hmm.
could try to focus on those things, like obviously understanding AI and its limitations and where you come in, and being able to critically evaluate and understand what it's giving you so that you can make those judgments, because we're not at the point yet where you can trust what's necessarily coming out of it. And then you can focus on those, like those human skills, right? Those ideas around, problem solving, ethical judgments, leadership, as far as how do you motivate people, how do you get people to engage, those types of things. And then I think they should. This goes back to my first comment: is that when you embrace the technology and see where it's going, you need to be adaptable. You need to be agile, as a worker in a career or anything like that. The So what you learn today is going to possibly be obsolete tomorrow,
Hmm.
right? And so you have to constantly be comfortable just learning and
Yeah.
changing and being iterative in that fashion. And I think that'll help you in the long run as you grow into these different things that, this technology keeps getting rolled out. You're going to be able to navigate a path for yourself much easier if you're trying to embrace it versus, you know being standoffish or complaining about it, and not reading that writing on the wall, for sure.
It seems like every team has got that one person who's really good at Excel, and you need a formula. That person, hey, give it to Matt. He knows how to do this. It's not a perfect example, but I feel like why not be the person on the team that's like, hey, can AI do this, Matt? Like be that person. Aim
Right.
to be the go-to person, not out of simply pride or arrogance or entitlement or anything like that, just because it's like a forcing function to learn, right? It's like, hey, why not be that person that you're the person who keeps experimenting, learning, sharing those ideas with others, be
Yep.
the go-to person. I just can't imagine any downside on that.
No, absolutely not. I think it's gonna help you evolve as you go through your career, but also you're just gonna be looked to as a leader
Yeah,
in those situations, and constantly be an invaluable member of that team, for
yeah.
sure.
And it's a little bit along the lines of the truth will set you free. I think the more you know, it takes some of the fear out too, I think, in my
Yeah.
experience. It's like, because you realize, oh, it's really bad at that over there. you know,
Right.
yeah, like you and I were joking, like there's plenty of examples of where it is not ready to take over the world yet. There's
Right.
plenty of examples. And then when we think about our jobs, I don't know, what's the most difficult part of a project manager's job? It's not creating reports or updating tasks. It's dealing with cranky stakeholders, right? And
Mhm.
trying to negotiate dates and influence people to deliver. And that's a very human, like you were saying, it's a very human focused thing, not simply a technology fix.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So much we could talk about, but let's end with this. Let's say a listener is a parent and kind of perplexed about the world of work. What's it going to look like when my kid hits the workforce? Any thoughts you might share with them about how to prepare their kids to thrive in the workforce of the future?
Yeah, that's obviously, so I think about this a lot. I'm a parent, and my kids are coming up. They're in high school, and one of them's a senior, so I think about this a lot, but
Yeah,
obviously I don't have a crystal ball as where
sure.
to tell her to, oh, you should go into this type of career or this type of career. That's AI proof. And, who knows, right?
Yeah.
So I think, uh, what we try to do, we try to focus on some key things at home,
Mhm.
to help them do that. First of all, you can't deny the technology, right? You have to embrace it.
Yeah.
And even with my kids, like, although we do deny some social media, for example, but that's just a maturity thing. I use social media, but I use it deliberately. So
Mm.
it's you have to be smart and deliberate about how you use technology, and so
Yeah.
that is one of the things we try to teach them. The and to understand sort of technology from a higher level, system idea, like that's where I think it's super interesting, right? Because if you learn how these things work together, in the future, you're going to be able to start putting these things together, and that's where innovation comes.
Right on. Yeah.
And so that's one of the things we want to do. We also want to teach them creativity, like just being curious, uh, and being, producing things, exploring, building, those types of things that you know I think are still. I mean, even though AI does mimic some creativity, right now it's still mimicking. It's not true novelty,
Mhm.
and I think that is still, the imagination, and asking the really hard questions of why this, why not that. Encouraging to think that way and think in a way that's, I guess, divergent
Mhm.
from the normal path. And then I think the last thing is what you've obviously heard of, having a growth mindset, right? Being, you know, constantly constantly wanting to learn is invaluable for your entire life. Of just constantly wanting to learn and adapt. I think those skills and having that kind of mindset will get them through a lot. That teaches, to teach them resiliency. That failure is actually a learning opportunity. Then I think that'll get them through a lot in the future, as this wild world of technology continues to evolve, and they'll feel like they can always, well, no matter what happens, like I'll be able to figure it out,
Yeah. Right.
type of attitude.
That's good. You
Yeah,
know, the classic stereotype of people hitting the workforce these days is social skills are not quite as good. And I'm not saying these are true across the board for sure, but that's the stereotype of, they grew up with a iPad or iPhone in front of them. And so continuing to work on those human skills, right? Just
yeah,
uh, show up, be a nice person, interact with people, be curious. It feels like curiosity is the ultimate hack for any of us, any of us
right.
at any age, but even those sort of skills are going to stand out these days.
Yeah, and I think it's something you know, if your kids are younger, you learn from a young age, right? Because I can see the difference in my kids sometimes with because they went to a Montessori school,
Mhm.
for example,
Whole
when they were
different way of looking
younger,
at school.
and until they were basically through junior high.
Yeah.
And so it's a different approach there, where
Mhm.
everybody's encouraged to, well, a, there's no technology,
Right.
and b, at least not from a, like, iPad or
Right.
computer
Right.
standpoint, and b, there's this sort of equality of interaction. Like, you can
Mhm.
interact with the teacher almost like an equal. Like,
Mhm.
it's like, I'm asking a question, I'm curious about this. What is that? So it encourages this type of, so having that ability to go into a workplace, and speak to adults, and be actually confident in your what you're saying, and how you're communicating, I think is critical. It's
Yeah.
critical.
Yeah. That's good. Hey, somebody might be listening to us and go, I want to know more about you, Matt, or what you're doing at Plan Automate. Like, where can they learn more?
So yeah, obviously, Plan Automate. PlanAutomate.com. Our website is the place to go to learn more about what we do, and reach out to us. I do want to plug a survey that we're doing. Um, we're putting together a survey and a report on the state of AI in project management.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so we're asking all project managers or project organization people to participate. So I'd like to encourage, of course, all your listeners to participate. So you can go to planautomate.com/air, which is AIR,
Mm-hmm.
to access that report, and take the survey, and then get access to the report. So um, those are two key things. Just, as far as Plan Automate, like I said before, the automation and the AI thing, and this thing that we talked about, as far as it being a concern, we address that head on. Where automation and AI for us is not about eliminating jobs. It's
Right.
about, it's about empowering people. That's how we build software. That's how we build our experiences with our customers. So please check us out and reach out if you're interested in learning more.
I appreciate that. For those listening, I trust you found this discussion to be helpful as you think about AI, your career. Yeah, I'll put links in the show notes where you can learn more about the work Matt and his company are doing, including a link to that survey. Hey, Matt, thank you for joining us on the People and Projects podcast.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Special thanks to Matt for joining us here on episode 479 of the People and Projects podcast. I think the bottom line message out of an episode like this is nobody really knows for sure where everything's headed, but tools are getting better. And the key for us is to experiment. That is the single best thing. I've for a while now have been convinced that the mindset or the position or the stance, the posture is not being future proofing. Right? You don't want to try to AI proof yourself. It's more along the prep. It's future prep, AI prep. That's what we want to do. And I think the key is all the experiments. So that's why we're doing episodes like this, to get us to be thinking about that. By the way, I put a link in the show notes to the survey that Matt mentioned. I want to invite you to take that. And the primary reason is not only can you feed the information, but also get a report that comes out of that. And I think you might find that helpful. If you have any thoughts or questions about this discussion with Matt, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me at show@peopleandprojectspodcast.com. I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like more on this topic, I put links in the show notes to episode 463 with Faisal Haq. I think he's got a very empowering take on how do we transcend the fear and transcend the hype around AI. And I'm using that word transcend because that's the title of his book. I think it's a really good discussion. Also, I want to invite you to check out episode 415. It's with the leaders from another software company called Keto Software. It's spelled Keto, looks like keto software. I think it's a really good follow-up to this discussion. These guys have been in this space for many years, and I think you'll find it also kind of enlightening about where things are going. And then finally, episode 384, it's with Pamela. Now, if you've listened for a long time, you know who Pamela is. She's an AI persona. I say she's AI persona. I've been curating for a while, and I actually interviewed Pamela in episode 384. It's the first time that an AI persona showed up as a guest on a leadership podcast or a project management podcast. So she's kind of famous. And by the way, in the show notes, I'll put a link to Pamela. You can actually talk to Pamela following that link. It's a custom GPT in ChatGPT. You don't need to have a paid license in order to do that. So check out that link and you can talk with Pamela. In the intro, I mentioned AI Made Simple. It's our product to help you learn more about AI. If you've been holding off on just going deeper with your experimenting, check it out. I think you'll find it a very empowering, very eye-opening. That's what I hear from people regularly, like, oh, okay, I knew I could do some of this. I didn't know I could do all of this. And beyond just the lessons that are involved with it, you get a prompt pack that isn't the types of prompts that I made fun of in the interview. It's like really personally curated, very detailed prompts that I think what you'll find not only can help you in your role as a leader or project manager, but also help you understand how to use the tool. So check out the links in the show notes for AI Made Simple. It's at ai.peopleandprojectspodcast.com. If you've not left a review for the People and Projects podcast, I invite you to do that. It really does make a big difference. But just the fact that you take time to listen to us, and I get feedback. It's a rare day I don't hear from a listener. So yeah, leave a review. If you haven't reached out and just said hi or tell me what's going on in your world or what you found helpful, I invite you to do that. You can reach me at show@peopleandprojectspodcast.com. I would love to hear from you. Well, on behalf of me and my team, thanks for listening.